Ready.
Yo. Welcome back to the Mark Our Words podcast, the official podcast of YouTube. What's good with you, Chen?
Life is beautiful, man.
What's beautiful about life for you, man?
I'm still alive. You know how many people died last year?
Man, millions.
Golly. Man, I was one of the lucky few to survive.
He should with the church.
I got hit by a car before.
You did get hit by a car. That's why I think I'm going to outlive you.
I don't know.
Because I never got hit by a car. But then again, you do eat better than me.
Just saying, I got hit by a car before and then died. Took all my limbs. God's good, man. Sometimes you just got to thank God, man. Because you really alive because of him. Even like driving, man. I was thinking coming back from your place during New Year's. Loki, I could get hit by a drunk driver tonight.
It's not even that. You gotta realize that night it was just bad weather. Like it was foggy and rainy too.
That day? No. Oh yeah,
it was foggy and rainy because when I came to pick up the food, I couldn't see on the beltway at certain points.
Yeah.
I was like, it's foggy. I don't know what out here.
But you got all those drunk people on the road too, so you never know.
Do people still drink? Do people still drink and drive?
Yes. What? Yes. Drunk drivers every year.
Take a Uber, man. What's going on with y'all?
You know people can't afford Ubers like that.
Well, you're right, because people barely can afford to drink.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, man. Like, what's wrong with y'all? Or just have that friend that don't drink. That's what y'all need to do this year. 2023, this is the year of family. This is also the year of recruiting the friend that don't drink.
Where you going to get those friends?
Trust me, there's friends that don't drink. Me.
That want to go out?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're right.
Hey, yo, Chris, we need somebody to drive us.
Okay. No. If you put it that way, it sounds like you're using me. Yeah. No, you say like, yo, let's all hang out. Hey, Chris, you drive. Wait a minute. Are y'all going to drink? Like, you know what I mean? Like no, you just like, let's all hang out. Let's go chill.
You ordering strawberry lemonade at the bar.
Okay, you pick it up? I'm like, okay.
We already drunk. We didn't invite you to the pregame because, you know.
Oh, man. I'm excited. For Christmas, my girl got me what I wanted. The tickets to the band that I wanted to see. I'm going to see them in April. So, she had a good Christmas because she wasn't going to have one if she didn't give me those tickets.
That's good.
Off top. And I am not ashamed to say it. Because I'm like, I asked for one thing.
What would you have done if she didn't give it to you?
Ruin her Christmas. No.
Okay, all right.
I wouldn't say that. I just would have yelled at her real bad. To be like, yo, I asked for one, because that's the thing, man. I put so much stock in. That's probably my fault. I put so much stock in one gift. I'm like, I only want one thing.
That's fair.
Anything else you give me, I don't care for. I don't care about the hat. I don't care about the gloves that I didn't ask for. It's 64 degrees in Baltimore right now. I want to see Snarky Puppy. So she got me tickets for that, man. I really do got a lit girlfriend. She cool. She cool people. And she like respects me.
That's big.
Is it? Is it people out here really not respecting each other? That's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm actually scared to be an adult because I feel like I'm going to be an immature adult.
I don't think you're
because
immature now.
I look at... No, trust me, man. I be laughing. Me and my girl be laughing at stuff. I be looking at how people be adulting, and I be like, I don't see how y'all be having like drama. I'm like the most dramaless adult you probably know, outside of yourself, maybe. like I don't.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't see how people be getting into I don't see how people get into arguments as adults. I see how you get in arguments when you're like early adults, late teenage, but like as an adult, I'm like, who am I arguing with? And maybe my mind is being controlled because I watch reality TV shows all the time.
Okay.
Because my girl
made
me watch it. I'm low key a fan of Love in Huntsville, Love and Marriage Huntsville. I'm low key a fan of that. But I'm like, yo, these adults be arguing. That's crazy to me. Why am I arguing? That's crazy.
I can't really talk too much. I mean, if it's like love and hip hop, yeah, I don't get that.
Well, you don't get the whole.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
We already talked about lack of community. Just remove yourself from that community.
I'm about to say,
people
like,
are causing drama.
It's kind of to your point of like how you said, like you have expecting Cause we talked about episode talk about friendship, about you expecting something from a friend and you feeling entitled from a friend and things like that. And you said if somebody did something that you had expectations for and they didn't meet,
you adjust.
You're like, cool, but I'm going to adjust.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. But I had an interesting conversation, and I have these conversations a lot privately with my girl. But I chose to have this conversation publicly with some family members when I went on vacation. And we was talking about a better life for our children. Since this is the year, y'all call this the year of greatness, the year of MJ 2023. Some people call it the year of LeBron, but nobody associates 23 with LeBron more than they associate 23 with Jordan. So y'all like to put titles on this year. We already put a title for this year, the year of family, right? And we was talking about how our kids going to have a better start in life than we did. I look at my sister. I went to my sister's house. This is my first time in her new house. And I'm just like, wow. I'll probably post some pictures if I can find them. I think she has all the photo albums. If I was to show you pictures of just our kitchen is probably, I'm not even lying to you, from this wall to that wall. Stove, fridge, small table and all. And there was 4 of us living in that apartment. And just off top, my nephew and nieces have a better life than I did when I was their age. But there's a consequence that comes with that better life. Your view on the world, or as I like to say, street smarts, is gonna lack. I look at my nephew who begs me all the time. He talks to me. He said, when am I going to be on the podcast? I said, you're too young.
How old is he now?
I want to say 11.
Oh, wow. You can get up there.
Hopefully, I'm a good uncle. Hopefully, he is 11. You know what I mean? And he wants to be on the podcast. And I look at him, and he's smart. At one point, he was in a regional competition for the spelling bee. He can spell words real good, you know? But at certain things, I look and I be like, my goodness, man. You are not the kid I was. At your age, I was walking home. At your age, I was doing this. At your age, I was doing that. But it's like, because I had to do that based on the environment I was in. When at your age, I was trusted to be left home alone. Chris, don't touch the stove. If you want pieces, use the oven. This is the knob. I was trusted with a key to the house at your age because my mother wasn't home, my father wasn't home, so I had to go home. And I'm like, wow. Some call it sheltered. Me, I call it sheltered. But some people say it's just a better life. What do you think so far before I get to my overall point in that assessment?
I won't call it shelter at this point.
Okay.
Given those
it's needed basically.
Yeah, one was needed, one wasn't needed. There's no need for him to get a key to the house because someone's always home.
Exactly. But here's the consequence. I think, and I'm off my nephew. I was talking to a friend, and she said, yeah, my kid's never going to a public school. I'm going to put them in a private school. Now, she's very into her blackness. You get what I'm saying?
Woke?
I say she's a level below woke. I don't, because usually woke has like a bad thing. She
like performative.
Yeah, yeah. She's not that.
But she's not like Hotep, like
no. She ain't out here. She ain't out here with the earrings. No.
Nose ring.
No. Like
wing tips, Egyptian style.
No. Kuta Kente. No. She ain't doing none of that. Okay. But she said my kid is only going to private school. So I hit her back with something. I said, well, how you expect your son to marry a black girl or a black woman when you're going to put him in private school his whole life?
20,000 lashes.
For who? For me?
for the son.
And she, of course, came back at me saying, like, my son's going to marry a black woman because I'm going to have him around black people. You know what I'm saying?
It's cousins.
His family. and I don't think y'all are an incest type of family. You get what I'm saying?
I mean, it's your family.
Yeah,
so
I'm about to say, I hope that it got nothing to do with me. You're right.
Don't try to separate it.
But my whole point is, I said that not even meaning it 100%, but basically meaning it 50 to 60%. Like, basically, you want to give, and I understand why she said private school, because she said, basically, if you read between the lines, I want to give my children the best education that they can get.
Yeah.
That sounds good. That sounds better than just private school.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you have to understand that the chances of him marrying outside of his race increases if you put him in those type of institutions.
Yeah.
Part 2. What do you feel about what I just said now?
I would add to that. I think outside just like marrying your kid outside of those institutions, your kid could be slightly, I won't say confused, but there is
a comfortability,
a level of not belonging, because you're not quite. I ain't got time for pretty words. You're not quite white, and in the black communities, you don't feel like you're part of that culture. So you. And some people say they don't feel that. Like they like, I don't see race. You know, you know those black people is like, I don't see race.
Yeah.
You know, he's white, I'm black, but we both do the same thing. But there is a level of like, they don't fully accept you. You're not somebody's best man all the time. The only time these things actually work out is if the school or the environment that they're growing up in is multicultural. So it's not just white and black, or it's not just like all white and then 5 black kids. It's like you got some black, you got some Arabs, you got some Indians, you got some Asians, you got all these different people, even though Indians are Asians, but you know what I'm okay.
Yeah.
So you got all these different you got all these different people in this culture, in this melting pot. Whereas as a black person, you don't feel like you're different. You feel like, oh, I'm just a different. I'm somebody who has different, unique experiences like everybody else.
I'm not black. I'm OJ.
Well, I won't say they feel like that.
Okay.
But it's like, yeah, I'm black, but my friend is Indian. My other friend is white. My other friend is Asian. My other friend is. So it's like there's no like I feel like a token. I just feel like I would say if your kids growing up in that environment, they might have a better chance of identifying with their own, or they might just be more open. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, they won't have this inferiority that I feel like a lot of kids have when they are the only group of people or the small group of people. They basically
will feel like they belong there.
Yeah, they feel like they belong. Yeah, I would say that.
Now, you told me before we recorded this that you went to private school.
I did.
Now, I thought you went to private school all through middle school until high school.
Nope.
I had no idea that you actually was introduced to public school first and then went to private school.
Yep.
Did you feel inferior in your private school?
Nah, but I think I was too young to feel that. But I would say I gravitated towards the black kids. So all my friends were black.
Because it was only...
close friends.
Because it was only, like 10 of y'all?
It was like 3, 4.
And that's leads to part 3 of the discussion.
Yeah.
I said, I have no problem, because me and my lady always have these debates. Because she said he's going or she's going to a HBCU. Mm-hmm. I have nothing against Coppin. I have nothing against Morgan State.
Shout out to.
I have nothing against Bowie. I have nothing against Howard. I have nothing against Xavier, A&T, Spelman, Morehouse, name them.
Jackson State.
Hampton. I'm sending my kid to Colorado with Dion.
Hey, yo, you been there for 2 years. How long more? How many more you just gonna be there? Dion left.
Yo, man. No, my thing is, I have nothing against that.
Yeah.
But I feel like until the type of future that I see for myself, right? Like, for example, if I was to move to PG County, more times than not, I'm probably gonna put my kid in a magnet school or a private school.
That's smart.
Because PG County is listed as the second worst schools in Maryland.
Really?
The county.
Oh, okay.
Number 1 being Baltimore City. You get what I'm saying? Actually, I think.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I think PG County is worse than Baltimore City.
Nah,
it goes back and forth. It goes back and forth. It goes back and forth. Unless you go to Poly or like unless you go to City, you're like Baltimore City is not listed as like a good place for an educational system.
I believe that.
Right?
But I don't believe PG is touching Baltimore City. Man. Remember when all them kids had 0 point GPA? The whole school.
The average. Did y'all curve the school a little bit? But my whole thing is, if my kid grows up, this is the logic that I think.
Yeah.
My kid is not gonna have the street smarts that I have because I want them to have a better life than I had. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they're gonna, for one, they probably gonna be born into a house.
Yeah.
Born with both parents and things like that. They already a step above than both parents working and things like it's just gonna be better than what I grew up with.
Yeah.
But I said, trying to create the environment. Mm-hmm. I'm like, if my kid grew up in private school, from elementary school to high school,
okay.
Yes, I agree. Send them to a HBCU. Because if they majority grow up around white people,
what are they getting to Harvard because of all that private school?
Ivy League may be a trump card. Ivy League, but the thing that make me hopeful about Ivy League, which is crazy, was Issa Rae. Issa was the one that actually. But
she went to public school.
No, she went to Stanford.
For college.
But she went to public school. But I understand that. But I'm saying I wouldn't have thought to send my kid to Ivy League at all because I thought Ivy League was more like, you know, if you like very smart, things like that. But I'm like, oh, cool. Some of the black people that I look up to in entertainment and things like that, they went to Ivy League, and I'm like, oh, these are cool people that I look up to.
They're not very smart.
No, they are very smart.
Okay.
Is what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, I ain't know black people that went to Ivy League schools until like I'm like Issa Rae. What is the classic man name? I'm a classic man. He went there. Rosalind Gold went to Stanford. Like these are now. Granted, some of these are African heritage. Mm-hmm. So they view. That's also another thing. Y'all view education number one more than I view it.
Okay.
Because with me, I'm like, if my kid go to a private school and they around white people all the time, I'm gonna send them to a black HBCU so they can get the best of both worlds. The way I feel like y'all Africans view it is, hey, the best education so y'all can have a good life, basically. Like, basically, it's not about... Because I feel like...
I think that's also because identity is already ingrained in the family.
Yeah, and I think y'all, like, very proud of who y'all are and things like that.
So you have Nigerian... You know, you have Nigerian parties. Mm-hmm. Your family's not going to forget that you're Nigerian. You're probably still going to be weird. So you're probably not going to have that many friends in the first place in a lot of these schools. Yeah, maybe you might have a couple, but you're not going to have too many. But it's not just Nigerians. It's Africa.
And you said the word. I'm trying to form my kid's identity.
Yeah. But it's very hard to do that in America without the inferiority.
So that's why I'm like, if I'm very street smart, I'm very savvy, I got that hustler mentality, and that's what I identify myself as. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, I want my kid to be prideful of who he is. Yeah. While also getting the best education. I don't want to send my kid to a school that doesn't have good facilities now, just for the black experience now. Yeah. I don't want that. Yeah, I want the best of both worlds. But if he do grow up around black people, let's say he goes to a private school that has black people, like St. Francis had black people and things like that, even though, like, you know, it was right across the street from a prison. But shout out to St. Francis. If he do go to a magnet school that's mainly black and he's the best of both worlds, I wouldn't have a problem with him going to PWI or going to Ivy League. Ivy League may be the trump card. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Because there is a sense, in my opinion, of not taking for granted being the only, in the sense of when you go to HBCU, you're around black people all the time and things like that. So you could kind of just like, take for granted that you're around black people all the time. Compared to, let's say you go to University of Maryland or something like that, and you actually ingrain yourself more into the black community because you know y'all are outnumbered and there's few of y'all, and y'all end up doing things as a people more because it's just this group. And you probably know all of them or most of them or come across some of them, depending, University of Maryland is big, but I'm just using that example because that's the state that we in. So what do you think so far about what I said?
About?
That's like part 3 or 4 about, like, I said, starting off with talking to my friend, you got to be used to or potentially that your kid may come home with someone outside the race that like you grew up in. And granted, they're not anti-white, but like most races, they want someone to marry within their race.
I don't care about that. As long as he's not doing it because he feels like he feels less than, or he feels like his people are less than. I don't know.
How would you know for sure, though?
What do you mean? You don't know for sure.
Like, how would you know that he's not doing it because he's like, I think of my race a little less than?
You might not know for sure, but you don't know that for sure if he marries a black woman. You might hate black people.
Just marry?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that hate the people that they marry. There's white people that marry black women. They racist. So it doesn't matter. But so my thing is not really who you married, or let's just make sure like you are confident in yourself. I think that's the key. Like I don't need you to feel like, oh, I'm blackity black. And for me, I don't really need you to feel like that. But I need you to feel like you know who you are. Like I don't want you to feel like, oh, you can't be. Because the other problem is if you too black, then when you get into a white space, you feel like you're less than. Because all you've been around is black people. So people start talking a little different. People might use certain words that you're not normally familiar with. But the flip side is if you too... We're not gonna say white. You're black. Okay. All right. Oreos. Anyways, if you're too like preppy, or you've been in private school or been around white people all the time, when you get into black spaces, you don't feel comfortable because they see using words that you never really used before. They using jargon that you're not familiar with. They have mannerisms or different certain pop culture references that you might not be familiar with. So my thing is, I don't want you to feel like you need to adjust yourself, regardless of how you grow up. You need to adjust yourself for whatever room you're in. But I also do want you to know how to maneuver in these spaces, regardless.
Yeah, and I think that's why I was like, I'm gonna send my kid to PWI. But I understand the importance of the HBCU as well too, though. Because there is, and I think that's the bigger issue that we always talking about at that discussion. But you summed it up in one word: it's identity.
Yeah,
and things like that. Especially for kids, we don't really know who we are at like that age, or like what we want to be. And like at one age, or did you had to come across yourself that you became not prideful, but proud of your like background?
Maybe in college.
Okay. When like you saw more people like you or whatever.
Yeah, I think I didn't really grow up with a lot of Nigerians. First of all, well, outside of like my family, but even my cousins, they're either too young or too old. So the only people that I really grew up with that was around my age were my little sisters, who were Nigerians. So that's one. So it wasn't until college. But I think also around that time, like, Nigerian pop music was popping. There was more Nigerian stars.
It was cool being African, basically.
Not quite yet, but it was getting there. And so I think at that point it was like, oh yeah, this is my culture. This is what I think. Also, as you grow, like just being comfortable with who you are and figure out, like, cause you grow up in a Nigerian household. There's a lot of things that your Nigerian parents might not be hip to, and so they might make you wear glitter lip gloss because they don't want your lips to be ashy, or they might put a whole bunch of Vaseline on your face, and now you go into school with mad Vaseline on. They might get they might get you the Shaq shoes to go to school, and now everybody's looking at you like, are those Shaqs? And now you're looking funny because you don't have the coolest Jordans. But then when you meet other people who grew up like that, and you don't really meet them until like well, I didn't really meet them until college, and they had the same experiences you had. Mm-hmm. It was like, oh, damn, I could relate to you. And so I think that was one. I think also you just get older. You start to appreciate, your childhood a little bit more. Because, thank God, I never been molested. I never been, my mother wasn't verbally abusive or physically abusive. I had a good amount of friends growing up. I was in a pretty safe environment, great education. And so, like, what is there to be mad about?
True.
And so you just appreciate, and well, all those other things that you appreciate, you start to appreciate the culture that you come from. So
yeah, I think I battle with that in the sense of battling of how I'm gonna raise my kids, because I already see it, God willing, if I marry or when I marry my girl, God willing, I already see traits in her that I don't want in my kids. Mm. You know what I'm saying? Like talkative. It's crazy. I'm saying that as a podcaster, but like when you're close with your family, they share information. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? And it's not even, and the thing about it is, it's not even like, to me, it's all gossip to me. Because I'm like, if it don't come from the source, then I don't want to hear about it.
That's fair.
But that's just how I grew up with my dad. You get what I'm saying? If my mother was alive longer, I'd probably be just like my mom. You get what I'm saying? Because my mother and my sister probably was talking and stuff like that. So my dad, he didn't really talk about anything. One thing my dad did not like, and this is weird. It's crazy how, like, I'm just like him in this sense. Like, let me tell you about me. Mm-hmm. Don't tell anybody else about me, even though it's not private information. Mm-hmm. But, like, let me say, like, so for example, let's say I got that certification that I studied for and got, right?
Yeah.
My girl, because she's happy for me, she would be like, Chris aced that certification that he was working on. Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't know he was working on a certification. Mm-hmm. And for me, I'm just like, why are you telling people my business for? But it's just like, but it's not nothing to hide. But it's just like, I'm just not used to that type of camaraderie amongst family and friends like that. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And you doesn't make it any better because, like, I got secretive friends. So it's like, I just don't share information just for the hell of information.
Yeah.
So I know my child is probably going to pick that up from my wife and probably going to pick it up from us because, like, she has that family gene. You get what I'm saying? Where we talk about things, where we talk about our accomplishments. And then, of course, like, street smarts. But, street smarts is what it is. I guess I'm the man. I guess I'll be enough street smarts for all of us. Mm. But my thing is, like, it's already some things that I'm just not used to. I don't want to go so far and say I don't like. Well, I don't like that. But it's just some things that I'm just not used to that I'm like, oh, my kid gonna be in a way better environment. They got 2 healthy parents, a healthy relationship, like eating at the table. When people eat at the table, they talk. They talk about their day. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? I grew up in a household to where me and my father got home at 2 different times. I didn't hear nothing about his day. He get home at 11:30 at night. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. He start the next day. So it's just certain things I'm just not used to. Mm-hmm. That I'm like, oh, my kid is gonna be based off of the environment that I cultivate for him. Some things that I'm not used to, and some things I personally don't like at this age. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And it's going to be a hard balance. But the overall goal is, I'm like, oh, I can't give him this better life or give her that better life without something that I'm not going to agree with. Like there's going to be a yang to, like, my yin. You know what I mean? It's going to be something that's like, oh, if you go put them in, like, for example, I've never been called to my face an N-word by a white person because I wasn't around a lot of them growing up. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. My kid may be called that. And that's something that I may have to deal with. And then that have to be a conversation about his identity. I never had to get a conversation about my identity from my parents. I knew I was black. Mm-hmm. I wasn't prideful. Like, I wasn't like the afro picking the hair. I'm probably more that now than I was as a child. But it's like, oh, there's going to be some plus and minuses of trying to give them this best life or a head start in life than I had. And I'm just like, am I ready for that? Like it just gonna be weird for me. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yeah, I'm not. That's probably the main reason why I'm probably not gonna put my kids in
private school?
Predominantly white private school. Well, maybe predominantly white, but not all white. Like, it has to be multicultural. It has to be mostly black. Because I don't know if I want my kid being called an N-word and nobody does anything to the people that call him N-word, and I gotta go to the school to figure that out. And then they say, we're doing internal investigation, and apparently there was more that happened. Your son was the aggressor. I'm like, all right. Now my son look at me like, oh, you didn't do anything for me, and I don't got time for all that.
So when you raise your kid, knowing that you came to your African proudness near the adult years of your life, are you gonna try to?
Yeah.
Are you gonna instill that into your kid intentionally early, or are you just gonna let them, or are you gonna let them find their way around it?
You can't really.
Well, you can't force it.
Yeah, you can't really force it. Like my mom wasn't like the typical Nigerian parent,
but at the same time, she had garments and stuff that she wore.
She's Nigerian, but she didn't wear it in the house. Like she wore it. She didn't wear it to church. Like she wore it in like special occasions. Like it wasn't like we had people in our church that's what they wore to church
all the time. your mother hit a nice.
And they had their kids wear that all the time. I think if I was more immersed in it, maybe I'd be, or maybe I hate it even more. You never know. I think also as a kid, there was a lot of like, I wasn't like a confident kid. Like it wasn't until like towards the end of my teen years that I would have more confidence. So I think it's not really about immersing your kid in the culture. It's really just developing that kid's confidence. If that kid is confident, then he's going to identify with what he is. Like if he's black and he's confident, he's going to identify with being black because that's what he is. But if he's not confident, he's going to shy away from it. He doesn't want to be the all ball out or the unique guy or the difference or the token. Like he doesn't want to be that. But he's confident. Yeah, he's going. I have a homegirl. I'm not gonna put her name out, but you know her. And I seen this. She is the same woman in black spaces as she is in white spaces, as she is in Asian spaces, as she is in like any type of space. She does not change herself. Like she doesn't become more Nigerian because Nigerians are there. She doesn't become more black because blacks are there. She doesn't become more white because whites are there. She says she code switches, but I don't see her code switch. And it's not like some people might say she's not black enough. Some people might say she's too black. Some people might say she's not Nigerian though. Some people might say she's too Nigerian. But she stays consistent. And the only way you get to be that type of person, she doesn't wear makeup. She gets her hair done, but she doesn't do like relaxers or whatever. She's pretty tall, but I never seen her like shrink herself. Like she stands tall, and so that type of person only exists if they're confident in who they are. Like if you're dealing with insecurities, or you feel like you're less than, or you feel like you don't belong, and that gets to you. Yeah, you gonna marry a white girl because you want to fit in, or yeah, you gonna act like or be embarrassed about your culture because you want to fit in, or yeah, you gonna let somebody call you an N-word and not say anything because you gonna. So I think it's really about developing your kid's confidence. It's hard to do that because what does that kid need to develop that confidence, right? Does he need more family time? Does he need to be pulled out at that school and go to an all black school? Does he need to be? Does he need tough love? Does he need more nurturing? Like that. I think that's the hard part. But I don't know if if your kid lacks confidence, you send him to a black school. Next thing you know, he's gonna have tattoos on his face, pulling out gang signs, and it's like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm a blood, I'm a Crip. He's on Facebook and Snapchat and TikTok doing all these weird things, knowing he comes from a good family. So I think it doesn't really matter what type of school or what type of environment you put your kid in if that kid lacks confidence in his identity or he lacks knowing who he truly is.
I agree. And I hope I can instill that into my children when I have them.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's funny. I said it a couple episodes ago. You make up these things and sayings when you have an experience. And maybe this fear that I have is non-existent. Maybe it won't even happen. Maybe it won't even come to pass. You know what I mean? In the sense of like giving my kid, because like I actually was talking to somebody and he said that he wished his son had a little more edge to him. I said, how could he? Look at where y'all live.
But I'm saying, why would he want that for his son?
But because everybody wants their kid to, at least for sons, to be like them in some fashion. And I said something to him. Everybody want their kid to be like them in some way, and they look at themselves when they was a kid and they was like, at your age, I had an edge. And he said something to me. He said, like, my son, he's scared of everything right now. And his son's not that much. His son's not. It's not that old. You get what I'm saying? He's probably like still like 4 or 5, around that age, right?
He's 4 or 5 years old,
right?
Come on, dog.
And he said, when I was his age, I wasn't.
Think of this man like a grown man.
No. No, he's.
Why are you not playing with pistols?
I know. He basically said,
why are you not getting in fights in elementary school?
He said, when I was his age, I wasn't scared of anything. And I said, well, here's the thing.
How you know? Oh, okay.
I said, we romanticize the past because we can't remember it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? I said, you probably was scared, but because of where you grew up and how you grew up, you probably had to go through that fear.
Yeah.
But your son don't have an edge because when he's scared of something, when he says mom comes. Mm-hmm. And when he says dad comes. Mm-hmm. You grew up and there was a time when you home alone and you just had to deal with it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we romanticize a lot of things, and there's just certain things your child is. If you grew up, the only way your child is going to be exactly like you is if you make them grow up in the same community you grew up in.
And that's even.
And you can view that as a failure.
And that's still not a chance that he might grow up like
exactly.
He might still grow up the opposite.
Exactly.
That might break him and make him worse off.
Exactly. That's why I'm like, don't be trying to put the same trials and tribulations on your kid or on somebody you know, because like you said, it could be luck that you made it through. Mm-hmm. Things that I've been through, people look at me as if I'm like people look at me, and it's so funny, and like I'm gone, and this probably the last time I talk about it. But people look at me and what I've gone through, and they say, "Oh, Chris, only you could go through what you go through and still have like your right mind." I said, like, I don't know what that means. Like basically, like you will be all right, Chris, because like you can handle it. And I'm just like, that doesn't mean it's not hard.
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying? Like me handling it, I'm not out here like, oh, I know how to handle it. I know what to do. And it's like no, it's just like you go through it. And what you do, you just check yourself. You're like, oh, I'm still alive. Exactly. Like you check your mental. You're like, oh, my mental's still here. I'm blessed. You get what I'm saying? The world, y'all say lucky. You get what I'm saying? But I grew up in church, so it's like I didn't do this on my own. And many times than not, we think that who we are and our reaction to things is us. Like we made ourselves tough.
Yeah.
And things like that. Trust me, times that I had to be tough, I ain't want to be tough. You get what I'm saying? Times that this edge that I have, I wish I'm not going to say silver spoon, but it's like who I am or who we are at this age, many times than not, we had nothing to do with it. You get what I'm saying? Anything else you want to share, man, about identity and childhood and like, you know what I mean, just that dilemma?
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand this whole make your son tough, but I guess
or a child, you know. Well,
yeah, child.
Shout out to the daughters.
I do think there is a benefit to going through trials and tribulations, but I think we had a podcast episode about this. There's enough in life to handle that.
Yeah.
And your job as a parent is just to make sure they don't fall too far.
Yeah. Keep them alive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know, don't make it so easy that when you're gone, they don't know how to do things by themselves. But don't not be there and see them just crash and burn. Like, you know, prepare them as much as you can.
Facts.
Yeah, they don't have to be as tough or as strong.
Man, but like I said, man, reach out to y'all families, man. Hopefully y'all have a good week, and we will be back next week. Blessings.